Claude Code is an AI agent that runs directly on your computer. And that little detail, runs on your computer, is what makes it completely different from any other AI tool you've used before. Its intelligence comes from Anthropic's language models, but as it runs directly on your computer, it can actually access your files, run commands in your terminal, install software, browse the internet, basically anything you can do on your machine, Claude Code can do too. So when you give it a task, it doesn't just answer, it figures out what it needs, finds or creates whatever is missing, and then just solves the task. You don't explain how, you just tell it what you want. That's what we're going to look at in this video. I'm going to break it down as simply as possible, and then I'll show you exactly what this looks like in action on the screen. So let's get right into it. All right, guys, so let's get started. As you can see, I'm at the desktop of my Mac, and now I want to show you, or better prove you, that Claude Code is actually living in my computer. And I do that by opening up the so-called terminal. I use the command and space key, type here terminal, and then we open the so-called terminal. And this is the most basic way to operate the computer. Normally, we don't do that. We use things like what you see down here, a graphical interface. We click on files and buttons, but also the way exists to control the entire computer via the terminal. And this is also where Claude Code lives. And I prove you that. I already installed Claude Code. So if you want to learn how to install it, watch the video before, because there I uploaded an entire tutorial on how to do that. But this video is all about understanding, okay, what is Claude Code actually about? So if you're interested in that, make sure to stick around. So when I'm here in the terminal, I just type Claude, I hit enter, and then I get asked if I trust the folder. I say yes. And now Claude Code is opened here in the terminal. You see, it looks pretty basic and a little bit frightening, as if we would go hack something, but no worries, in a second you will see that there is also another way to use Claude Code that is even better. But to show you that this actually has access on the files on my computer, I will just run a quick command. I just go with that. Please list the 3 file names I have in my downloads. Okay, I know right now I have there 3 files, but now you see how it works. So Claude Code is now accessing my downloads, and here they are. And if we look at my downloads, this is completely correct. So here are the 3 files. So now you already see that Claude Code has access to everything that is here on the computer. But as I said, this looks very intimidating and I don't like to work like that. Because of that, I show you now how I personally access Claude Code. So here we are in Antigravity. This is a software from Google, which is completely for free. And it is a so-called IDE, an integrated development environment. And within that software, we can also access Claude Code. And then you will see that it looks way more approachable and way less intimidating, as it just looks like a normal browser. So when I'm here in Antigravity, I can open any project I want, for example, my personal assistant. And when I then go to extensions, to Claude Code, and I click on that little button, and I close the menu, I go back to the Explorer, and I also close that agent on the right side, you see we also have Claude Code, but everything looks way more familiar to a normal Explorer. And now let me explain step by step what we actually see here. So here we have Claude Code, and we can talk with Claude Code via the prompting window you see down here. So this is very similar to, for example, ChatGPT. You can just communicate with it via that window. For example, we could say, find out which Claude Code version I have installed. Okay, we send this out. We see that Claude Code is working, and then it tells me which version I have installed. That's fine. And then with the command /clear, we can just delete it. All right, now that you understand that Claude Code is basically living in your computer and can control your entire computer, can access all the files on your computer, we have to go one step further and we have to talk about the things we see here on the left side. So we are here within Antigravity, and within that we use Claude Code, and within Antigravity we can set up so-called projects. And the project we are in right now is called Personal Assistant. This is a project I created. And within that project, we have different files. So everything you see here are nothing else but folders and files on my computer. Okay, but Antigravity and also Claude Code can access these folders and files. And this is very important to understand. A so-called project is nothing else but a collection of information. And the question is, what kind of information do we have here on the left side? Because this looks pretty confusing, at least to me in the beginning. And the good news is, I want to say this right at the beginning, you don't even have to know about these files. You don't know how to write them. You don't need to know what is inside them, because Claude Code will create all these files for us, or you can just import these files, for example, from other people like myself, or from GitHub or other websites on the internet where people are providing these kinds of files. So this is the first thing you need to understand. At the end of the day, what we have here is just all the information that Claude Code needs to know, okay, what is the project about and how do I solve certain tasks. And all that is defined in the so-called Claude MD. And the Claude MD is a so-called markdown file. MD stands for markdown, and this is just a certain way how to present text in a document. And what we have here is very simple. We just have an explanation what this workspace, this project is all about. In that case, a personal assistant. And we have a list of all the available skills that Claude Code has available to solve tasks for us. So whenever we start working with Claude Code, the first thing it does is it looks at that file, and then it knows, okay, this is what the project is all about, and these are my tools. And then it decides which tool do I have to use for a certain task. And again, you don't have to write that, because Claude Code can write this file for you. And I already mentioned it, skills. What are skills? Skills are basically functionalities. So for solving different tasks, Claude Code uses so-called skills. And if we go here to the left side to our project and we go to the main Claude folder, we see a folder called skills. And here we have all the skills available in that particular project. So these are skills that I built and set up for myself that I perceive as useful for my daily work. For example, we have a YouTube B-roll creator, a YouTube intro writer. We have a skill to create AI influencer images. We have a skill to create HTML presentations and so on. And these skills are also nothing else but folders that contain all the information, basically other files that Claude Code needs to know how to solve a certain task. So if we go, for example, to the HTML presentation master, this is a skill that allows Claude Code to create slideshows for me, and I will present that in a second. We see that we have inside, for example, examples, how I like my slideshows to look like. We have best practices, we have brand design reference, and we also have the skill MD. The Claude MD was the general file, the manual for the project itself, and the skill MD is a similar file, but this file just explains how to solve a certain task. In that example, how to create HTML-based presentations, slideshows, okay? But again, you don't need to write these files yourself, because Claude Code will create these files when you tell it to create a certain skill. And why do I mention that so often? When I saw something like that in the beginning, when started using Claude Code, I just felt completely overwhelmed and confused, because I thought, okay, how do I write that? But again, you don't need to know how to write it. So the question now is, if you want Claude Code to have a certain skill to solve a certain task for you, how do you do that? Very simple. You just type down here a description what kind of functionality you want, and then Claude Code will walk you through the entire process of building such a skill, and then it will also create all these files and you don't need to do anything but providing Claude Code the information that it demands. Of course, there's also an easier way to create these skills. You could just import skills from other people, or there's also a skill called Skill Builder. This is an official skill from Anthropic and you can just download it from the official Anthropic GitHub. I will put the link into the description, and then you can just paste that link to Claude and tell it, please download the Skill Builder so that we can use that skill from now on to create skills. And then Claude Code knows even better how to create skills. So this is all regarding the theory. I wanted to keep that video as short as possible. Now I just want to demonstrate real quick how that looks like if Claude Code solves a certain task for us using such a skill. For the sake of demonstrating that, I just told ChatGPT to create a little slideshow about what Claude Code actually is. So we have here the content. You see slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, and some bullet points. And now I will take that content and Claude Code will transform it into a slideshow. So I go here to Claude Code and all I do is the following. I tell it, please turn that into a HTML slideshow for me and download it to my download folder. Okay, and then I will just paste here the content and I send it out. And now you will see that Claude Code is starting to think and it is reading the HTML presentation master skill. So you see it identified exactly what kind of skill it has to use. Then it reads the brand design and also the examples. These are 2 presentations it already created in the past. And then it starts working and it creates the entire presentation. And when it is done, it downloads the presentation to my download folder. We can open it and we can have a look. All right, Claude Code is done. You see, it created the slideshow and it downloaded it to my downloads folder. And now we can just check it out. So here is the presentation Claude Code built for us. And when I just double click on it, it opens it up in the browser. And here it is. What is Claude Code? Your AI coding assistant built by Anthropic, powered by Claude's large language models, running right on your computer. Then we have another slide, what Claude Code can do. And you see, it just used the content I provided it from ChatGPT, and it even created these nice icons. Everything looks exactly how I like that. These are my brand colors, and it's just a fantastic presentation. And you can imagine how much time this saves you if you can just tell Claude Code how you like your presentations to look like, and then Claude Code can just take any content that you provided and turn it into so nice presentations within just a couple of seconds. That's all that I wanted to share in that tutorial. I just wanted to give you a first impression what Claude Code is all about and how that actually looks like in reality. And that even though we have a ton of different files and slides, everything looks super confusing. It is actually not, because you don't need to know about all these files. You can just talk to Claude Code like a normal human and Claude Code will figure out the rest. And you will see that after just a few days of using Claude Code, you will discover its full potential and how powerful this tool actually is. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and you got a lot of value out of it. If so, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think about Claude Code and if you're also as excited as I am about this new powerful AI tool. See you in the next video.